Hello and welcome to this edition of Let's Talk About It. You guys know I like to expose talent here in the city of Houston. We got some amazing people doing some amazing things. One of those people is my wonderful guest. Introduce yourself to my guest.
Hi, I'm Myra Jones Romaine.
Myra Jones Romaine. Myra, you are a former attorney.
I am.
A former attorney. Now, I know that you're no longer an attorney. Or you still are, but you're not a practicing attorney, right?
That's right.
So what is it that you do now?
I'm a massage therapist, among other things, but that's what I mainly do now. I have a wellness center, and I love it.
That is fantastic. Now, you went from being an attorney to being a massage therapist. What inspired you to leave the law office to go into the massage room?
Well, I always danced and I always played music, and I always found that people were, I could help go out there and fight for them and be that gladiator.
Okay.
But they were still missing and still missing something and needing more healing.
Okay.
And I saw how music and dance really took them to another level. And so I wanted to be a part of that. But I also saw the amazing healing of touch.
Okay.
So I decided it's time to change. It's time to not to be the fighter and the gladiator,
Okay.
but it's now time to be the healer and the nurturer. And so I shifted gears and have never looked back.
Is that right?
It's been about 11 years now.
Wow,
Yeah.
11 years. And you know what's interesting about life? You can have one career
Yes.
for a period of time, but it's nothing wrong with segueing into
Right.
something totally
I know,
different.
20 years of being an attorney,
20
and then
years.
shifting. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful because God didn't design us just to do one thing in life.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
but a lot of people don't get to that place in life where they realize I can not only do this, but I can also do this and that
I
as
think
well.
they get fearful because they do what people expect them to.
Yeah.
Practicing law, and I was teaching dance and choreographing and, playing, and people would say, that's my lawyer dancing down the street in a parade, But I lived in a place where it was very accepting. I think it was small
Yeah.
and, a place that people knew people very intimately. So,
Is that right?
yeah, so you could be you.
And that's what's important. And I say it all the time.
Yeah.
Do you. Do you. Whatever that is, because that's what makes you stand out from everybody else.
Oh, also what makes you happy and really fulfill your purpose in life.
Absolutely.
You cannot do what other people expect of you. You have to do what you are here to do. And sometimes that purpose evolves.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
you go through, I raised my family. Then after that, I moved into a new segment of my life.
Yeah.
And we keep growing and keep learning.
And that's exactly what we do. We
Yes.
keep growing and we keep learning. You know, now you went from the attorney to being the massage therapist and
Yes.
opening up your own
Wellness
center.
Yes.
Where is your wellness center located?
It's in Third Ward, right in the heart of Third Ward, right off
Okay.
of 288 and Southmore. It's right across 288 from the Medical Center and the Museum District. And I am actually in the same building with my mother, who has been practicing medicine for 60 years.
Yes. And
Yes.
actually, your mother is a pretty famous doctor.
People think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Edith Irby Jones.
Exactly.
Is that right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You guys can do Wikipedia and all that stuff to find out a little bit more about who her amazing mother is. Because she's done some awesome things in her life as well.
She has. She has broken a lot of race barriers. She was the first African American to attend a white medical school south of the Mason-Dixon line. And so, and one of 3 women in the class. So she's done a lot, and she's just kept struggling and kept going through.
Yeah.
And she's now 85, still practicing.
Oh, is she 85 now?
She's 85. She's still
Wow.
practicing, and so I say there are 2 generations of healers under one roof. She does the conventional Western medicine,
Right.
and I do the complementary, the what I call the non-traditional.
Yeah.
But it is the holistic
Right,
medicine.
right. And I think, wasn't there a book that your mother wrote a while
There
back?
was a book written about
A
her.
book written about her. I think I actually
Yes.
had the book
Yes, yes.
because I knew about your mother before you and I met the other day.
Yes.
And I didn't get to tell you that. But when you said my mother is Dr. Edith Irby Jones, I'm like, Okay, I read this book long time ago,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
paperback book about
Yes,
her,
yes.
which was very interesting. So you can't fail in life with a mother like Dr. Edith Irby Jones.
You can, but I chose not to. I chose
Life
not
is
to.
about
It's
choices.
about choices. And, I think she would have liked to have had a doctor in the family.
Hmm.
She accepted the fact that she had a lawyer in the family. And when I decided to go into massage therapy, she was not at first supportive.
Uh
But
huh.
then when she really saw how you can help people, really help them in preventative care,
Yes.
because that's so necessary. I think one of the things that really had a profound effect on me was moving back to Houston, helping my mother, and seeing how many people suffer from diseases that are preventable
Mm.
and controllable. I'm talking about high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, stroke, heart disease. These are
Right.
things that we can prevent and we can control, and yet they're out of control.
Yes.
And
And especially in the black community.
especially. And so I saw the conventional medicine
Hmm.
giving pills, and that wasn't working. People weren't complying. So I said there's got to be another way.
Right.
So approaching it in another way, talking about nutrition, which I do,
Okay.
um, talking about fitness, and we have fitness classes in two locations,
Okay.
in Third Ward and our new location in Fresno.
In
In
Fresno.
Fresno.
Okay, so you just spread out all over the place.
I am. I have a partner.
You're trying to heal all of Houston, huh?
Yes, that is my goal. Well, the world, because
Right.
my mother has a clinic in Haiti, and so we're
Does
about to.
she?
Yes, yes,
In
yes.
Haiti?
In Haiti.
I did not know that.
And so really reaching out across the world.
That
Yes.
is fantastic. So tell me this: what does that feel like for you to be able to help and bless and heal the world? What does that feel like for you?
It's an amazing feeling to see someone who feels trapped in their body
Okay.
and has tried so many things, and I say to them, well, let's just do this slowly. Let's just walk around the park.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even walk 1 block, but they start walking 1 block, then they walk 2 blocks. Then
Okay.
all of a sudden we're walking a mile. And
Right.
before you know it, after a few months, we're walking 5, 6 miles.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, and you see people who all they ate were fried foods and
Mm-hmm.
fast foods, and all of a sudden they're cooking and enjoying foods that don't have meat in them, or
Mm.
enjoying foods that aren't fried. It's nothing wrong with it. I'm saying enjoy those things,
Right.
but there is always there's a balance of
Right.
everything,
Mm-hmm.
and learning that balance. And so I think to see people accomplish
Right.
their goals. Um, because what I say to people is this: you can have goals in life, but if you don't
Mm-hmm.
feel good,
Oh man,
there is no way
that is
you're going to
so
be able to go toward your goals,
so
to
true.
do anything. So you first have to get them feeling better, wanting to move, wanting to get up, and then they can start moving toward their goals. To see people's high blood pressure no
Right.
longer needing medicine, to see people's diabetes really no longer there,
Wow.
to see women lose 100 pounds and be able to run, to be able to, do whatever they want, to no longer
Mm-hmm.
be ashamed.
Right. Right. And you know what? Everything starts with one step.
One
A lot of
step.
times when we're trying to achieve and accomplish our goals, it starts with one step. Sometimes we just have to take one step at a time. And it's okay. You know what? And we're going to take one step at a time when we come back with more of Let's Talk About It
Okay.
in just a moment. We'll be right back, folks. All right, welcome back to this edition of Let's Talk About It with my wonderful guest, Myra. Myra's given us great information on health and wellness, as well as a little history about herself and, again, and her amazing mother, Dr. Edith Irby Jones, as well. Myra, thanks so much for being here, first of all.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
appreciate.
having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when you watch people being healed
Yes.
through your gift,
Yes.
what is that like for you?
Well, I know that it's God given.
Hmm.
It's not me doing it. It's
Hmm.
God doing it. And I am thankful that
Yeah.
He's given me that opportunity. I mean, it is amazing that I would be chosen
Yeah.
and that directed to that path. I could still be sitting behind a desk going out fighting every day, but God chose me to
Yeah.
really be able to touch me, literally
Literally.
touch people, and to see them leave my office and to have a whole new perspective on life.
Yeah.
That for me is, I just thank God every day
I think that's
that I've
wonderful.
been given that
So
opportunity.
tell me this: what would you say to someone who comes into your office with diabetes and high blood pressure? What would be the first thing you would say to them, and to start the process of their healing?
I say that we approach it three ways. The first thing we do is we look at food. Food is the number one thing. Food
Okay.
is your medicine, so you have to look at what you eat. You don't have to completely change your life, but you have to look at your lifestyle and then change just a little bit. We call tweaking it. So
Okay.
if you eat nothing but fried food and you love fried chicken, I say to you, eat the chicken, but try baking it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
use all the different seasonings that we have. So I do
Right.
that. That's the first thing. I look at the carbohydrates. We eat way too many carbohydrates. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but they have a detrimental effect on us.
Yeah.
And I say to people, you know what? Let's just cut back. You eat six slices of bread a day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's cut it down to four.
Yeah.
You know, so we slowly do it. Um, it has to be realistic. You know,
Okay.
you can't go into someone and you say, okay, you've been used to eating 3,000 calories a day. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to cut it down to 1,000.
Right.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to be
That's a
compliant.
big jump.
That's a big jump. So I say, okay, let's cut 100
Mm-hmm.
each day.
Again, it goes back to the steps.
Right.
A step at a time.
A step at a time.
Step at a time. Step
So
at a time.
food is the number one approach.
Right.
The second thing we do, and we start, one of the big things I do is fruit and vegetables. You
Okay.
gotta eat fresh. I say to people, the first thing you do when you shop is you shop around the corners of the store. You don't go in the aisles unless you run really quickly to get something and run out. You go for the vegetables and the fruit, the meat, the dairy, the frozen foods, not the packaged foods, but the frozen
foods,
vegetables and fruit, and then you're done. You can go in and you can get the toilet paper and the
All those
tissues
things,
and
huh?
those, but other than that, stay out of the aisles. And so that's the main thing. So if you find yourselves too much in the aisle, you're eating too much processed food. Our bodies weren't meant to do that.
Okay.
So food is number one. The second approach I say is you got to get up and move.
Got to get up and move.
You got to get up and move. And I mean, if you do nothing but walk around in your house,
Mm-hmm.
so instead of stop using the clicker for the
Okay.
television and get up and move. I know.
You're walking on my street now. Wait a minute. You talking
No, that's
about me?
great
That's
because
me.
they get on your channel. They'll stay on that channel
Yeah,
until they get up.
I look forward to getting home every night going to.
No.
Well,
Get up and move.
So I got to get up and start changing the channel.
Yes, and doing commercials. Just march in place. I mean, those are small things people can do if they're not used to moving.
Okay.
So eating is number one.
All right.
Food. Moving is number two.
And
the third
thirdly,
thing is to reduce the stress. Stress is the number one
reduce stress.
factor for all of those diseases that we talked about.
Wow.
And so massage comes in. That's where we come in.
And that's where Myra comes into play. You know what? Let me go back for a quick second. For people that may not know what carbohydrates are,
Okay.
can you give us some examples of what carbohydrates are?
Yeah, that's really important because people really don't know.
Yeah, you hear the name, you hear the word, but it's
Yeah.
like, what are carbohydrates?
Okay, so some examples: bread, any types of bread, cereals, cereals, even the ones that are whole wheat, claiming
Yeah.
to be whole wheat, they're all rice. The alternatives, you can have couscous,
Okay.
quinoa, the things that people don't really know about, mullet, that they can substitute because those are carbohydrates that also have protein in them. So they look a little
okay.
bit like grits, a little bit. You don't fix it. You fix them a
But
little
how do
bit
they
like
taste?
grits.
Because see, a lot of times what keep us from eating certain foods is the flavor.
But see, that's where seasoning comes in.
Okay.
And you can do anything with these foods and make it your own. Just like we take a plain old chicken and
Yeah.
we can make
We
it
can
talk
work it.
and
We can
walk
work a
and
chicken.
yes, the same thing you can do with the foods that are healthy for you.
Okay.
And not that chicken is great, it's what we do to it that makes
it bad.
Right. And things like potatoes. Potatoes on the whole are good.
Okay.
White potatoes. But by the time we put the butter on it, the cream cheese, the cheese, and we've killed it.
And
We've
well,
smothered it.
but what is a potato without your cream cheese, without your sour cream, without your cheese, some bacon bits?
But
You
we
got. I'm just saying, what's the potato with that? But here's the deal. I know we have to go back to discipline, and that's one of the biggest things when you're trying to get it together is being disciplined.
Well, but here's the thing: is it's not so much about discipline, it's about being conscious. I think
Okay.
what happens is we become so unconscious. I know when I'm driving in the car, I'm hand to mouth. And if once I get out of the car, if you had said to me, "What have you eaten?" "Oh, nothing." When actually I've had a bag of chips, I probably ate, a soda. We're so unconscious sitting in front of a television. We're
Absolutely.
just hand to mouth, hand to mouth. Every time you put something in your mouth,
Yeah.
you need to be conscious
Of what it is. Huh?
that what it is. Because if you become conscious, you're like, maybe I won't have the second candy bar, or maybe I
Yeah.
won't eat the whole bag of chips.
Just have a chip.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe not one chip, but half the bag.
Okay.
You know.
Because it's hard to just have one.
Yes. And
When they good,
so
y'all know
my
what I'm
thing
talking about.
is be conscious. So I have people write things down.
Yeah.
So when you write down everything you eat
Yeah.
all day, and you don't have to do it the rest of your life, do it for 1 or 2 weeks. Because you start thinking, I don't want to have to write down that muffin, so I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to write down that candy bar, that piece of cake, that second piece of cake, so I'm not going to write it down. So I'm not going to eat it. You don't cheat yourself. You can eat it and not write it down. You're only cheating yourself.
Yep. Don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself.
That's right. So
The things that are good for you.
but eat it, but write it down and be aware of it. So later on in the day, when you decide, I want another piece of cake, you're going to forget that you had that cake as you were running out the door.
Yeah.
So this way,
That is so true.
so it's about being conscious when you live. So it's also when you're eating, how much exercise you're doing, because you'll say, oh, I must have walked a mile.
But and exercise is so important. I know it is for me. This morning when I woke up, actually, I was getting ready to come in. I'm like, well, I went ahead and did it because I always feel better before a show if I exercise.
Right.
And so I made sure I got my exercise in.
But people
And
don't understand that you don't have to do a whole hour. You can do 10 minutes, then 10 minutes later, then 10 minutes
And that-
another.
there you
then,
go.
Maybe 2 or 3 hours later, do another 10 minutes. It's about.
You can break it up. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier about taking steps.
Right.
Right?
Being realistic about where you are and not pushing it because
And you know what?
it's too much.
With that being said, this is what I want to make sure we do before you get off this stage tonight. How do people get in touch with you for more information?
Okay. We're at the Edith Irby Jones Wellness Retreat Center. You can reach us by phone, 713-240-7226. Again, 713-240-7226. We also have a website,
All right.
EdithJonesWellness.com. Again, EdithJonesWellness.com. That's EDITH
Okay.
JonesWellness.com.
I hope you guys have been as well educated about health and fitness and all this good stuff like I have on today's platform with Myra, because I've really learned a lot. And I hope you learned about carbohydrates and other things like that. Anyway, until next time, we'll see you then. But for more information about our show, you can reach us at Let's Talk About It 12TV at gmail.com. That's Let's Talk About It 12TV at gmail.com. Hello and welcome to this edition of Let's Talk About It with my guest today, Ferrell Battle. She's in the house. She's another one of H-Town's talent. You guys know I like to showcase talent here in the city of Houston. No exception here. Ferrell, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you're a poet
Yes.
or a spoken word artist. Is that the same thing?
It's the same thing.
That's
It's
the same thing?
parallel.
Parallel?
Yes.
Is that right? So what got you involved in the poetry?
When you searching for your purpose, you go to your higher power, which in my case is my God, and you say, what am I here for? What am I to do? What is my story? How do I be effective?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are doctors, lawyers, rappers, whatever it is. And my thing was to be a poet and not really rap about it, but to
Okay.
speak about it and
Okay.
to reach out to those who to tell my story,
To tell your
my
story.
story, and reach out to those who can relate to my story, and say, okay, I
Right.
hear it, and I hear it in the poetic sound.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everybody has a story.
Yes.
That's one thing that's universal. We all have a story.
Yes, we do.
Now, your story might not be the same as mine, and mine might not be the same as yours.
And that's what makes us different.
But that's what makes us different,
Exactly.
and that's what makes us unique.
Exactly.
And God made each one of us uniquely and different.
And I've always wrote, like when I was younger, and I went through a lot of bad trials and tribulations as a kid, and so writing was my therapy.
Okay.
And but when I went off to the Navy, and I said, forget it,
Yeah.
But I came against more trials and tribulations, and so I found myself writing more for therapy.
Through the trials and tribulations.
Through the trial, just to write it out. And when I wrote my first piece and I spoke it, everybody in the room was like, "That was inspiring.
Yeah.
That was great." And it was I felt so liberated. It was such a relief.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "God, this is it. Like it's scary for me sometimes because I'm new to it, and it's a new journey."
Yeah.
But I'm embracing it.
And you know what? It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared when something is brand new,
Right.
and we're just walking in it. But the key is not to let the fear captivate you.
Exactly.
Not to let the fear stop you.
That's it.
Or hinder you in any kind of way, because you become successful when you overcome that fear.
That's it.
And we talked in the show before. We were talking about steps.
Mm-hmm.
And getting past fear takes steps.
Mm-hmm.
Each day is a step at a time. You have a very interesting and unique story about your life.
Yes.
Which is why I wanted you to be on the show.
Thank you.
Because I know that your story can certainly inspire and motivate people that have been through something similar to what you've been through.
Yes.
In this life. Now, you started out as a young girl. And obviously, of course, as a baby, as we all do. And you start to experience different things in your life because of the environment that you happen to be in.
Yes.
And I know one of the tragic things that you actually witnessed yourself was a killing, right?
Yes. Wow. I lived in a very dark place, and I was surrounded by drugs and killing, and this is family, should I say. Yeah. And so one day my uncle came and just shot up like somebody 10 times. I'm like 7 years old. So that was the turning point of my fear, I guess. That's when fear was set in. Like, I'm scared of the world. Yeah. And from that moment, I looked at life totally different. And I'm talking 7 and 8 years old. Okay. So I'm looking at life different. Like, how do I get out of here? That was my main purpose, is getting out of that element. How do I get out of this?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so that affected you. It made you fearful of the world in a lot of ways.
A lot of ways. Fearful of the world, people, trusting, and when it's family, you feel like you have nowhere else to go because that's all you know is family.
The family. Yeah.
Who else do you go to?
Right.
So and then with the lack of a mother around, no father, it's like, what am I here for?
Yeah.
And that's where my poetry came in at, because that was the question that I asked God: what am I here for? Mm-hmm. I don't have that foundation that's supposed to be here.
Right.
So what am I here for?
And you know what? So often people start off in life, or their life, that's their story.
Right.
Where they don't have they may not have the mother, they may not have the father, they may not have the family, but they do have God.
Yes.
And a lot of times
that's the foundation.
That's the foundation. And oftentimes you have God's gentle nudging that takes you to the place that He desires for you to be.
Right.
And oftentimes the story that's created along the journey in your life is designed to bless somebody else's life and to make a difference in their life. Right. And that's certainly true for you. Now, I know you were not raised with your mom, right?
No, I was not.
You were raised by, was it
my aunts?
Your aunts.
My Aunt Dorothy. She's a blessing, and I owe a lot to her as far as the way I think and speak and my spirituality. She kept me in church every day. Every day I was in church, and I was reluctant and rebellious at the time, but retrospectively, I'm like, wow, thank you, God.
Okay.
Thank you for that foundation and that bread. That's the carbohydrates you need.
That's the
thank
carbohydrate
you for that bread.
All right.
And it's a blessing, and that's. But Aunt Dorothy, she raised me from age 12 up until I left to go to the Navy, which was about 19 years old.
About 19 years old.
She was a big blessing.
Yeah. Now I know that the tragedy with your witnessing that happened to your uncle was very
It
detrimental
was
to you.
detrimental. Then shortly after, I saw my mom getting stabbed near to death. She didn't die. Luckily, she went to the hospital on time. But I mean, stabbed to death, and it was just dark. It was just an
Yeah.
ugly place. And I'm like, this is my mom. This is my uncle. This is my dad who died. You know
Yeah.
what is going on around? What am I in? You
Yeah.
know?
You probably felt like you were on sink or quicksand. Like nothing was solid under your feet. Nothing was certain.
Nothing. No commitments. No,
Yeah.
no stability.
But you held on.
Held on.
And you kept going
Strength.
a day at a time,
Just
a day at a
gotta-
time, a
you
day
have
at a
to
time,
fight.
day
You
at
have
a
to
time.
fight. You
Uh-huh.
have to fight.
So
You
those
have to.
things actually taught you to fight.
You have to.
Yeah.
You did. If you want to get to a certain place, and you know that that path is not already set out for you, you have to create it.
Right.
Like Queen said earlier, when you grind, you create something,
Uh-huh.
and that's when you fight through it. You create a path to do what you want to do, or your purpose. There we go.
There you go.
You create a path for your purpose.
There you go. To reach your ultimate
To reach
destiny.
your ultimate destiny.
Yeah, that is so. Man, we got so much more to talk about, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank
You know, and you and I have talked about this for a
We
minute.
have. I'm
And,
so glad it finally manifested.
It has
It's
finally
like,
manifested.
It's here.
The day is here, yeah, and you are actually here talking about this. And we got so much more to talk about with this wonderful guest in just a moment. So you guys want to stick around. This story gets really, really good. All right, guys, welcome back to this edition of Let's Talk About It with my wonderful guest, Ferrell Battle,
Thank you.
who is in the house. Ferrell is an awesome poet, and she's accomplished a lot of things in her life. And you're going to learn a little bit more about her in just a minute. But you know what? No, you're going to learn about it right now.
Right now.
Right now. All right, now, Ferrell, like your family history.
Yes.
You were the first to do what in your family?
Graduate high school.
The first
of all.
one to graduate high school in your family.
Yes.
And I'm going to brag on you a little bit. Not only was she the first one to graduate high school in her family, but she also attended the University of Houston, and she's the first one to graduate college and get a degree in her family as well.
Right. That's correct.
Now, this is the child who came from seeing people getting shot and killed, drugs, her mom stabbed,
Mm-hmm.
being raised without her mother, being raised by other people in her family.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? It did not stop her. And that's the message that I want you guys to get. It did not stop her. Your past does not dictate your future. And it's so important for you guys to know that. If you guys don't get any other message today, I want you to get that message, that your past does not dictate your future. So tell me this, Porphyria, what did that feel like for you being the first number one to graduate from high school in your family?
It was surreal. And also sad. Because, I do analyze a lot of things, and
Yes.
I'm wondering, why am I the first to be a college graduate out of all of these years? Like, there's so many levels that I would like to reach, but this is what I have to celebrate at the moment because of my past.
Yeah.
But the message that I got from that is just accept it and embrace it.
Right.
This is your path. This is what you're here to do. You're still breaking generational curses. That's what you're here to do.
And that's a wonderful thing when we're able to break generational curses. Because a lot of times I think people feel locked in to whatever that environment was for them. And they don't see an opportunity or see where they can change or where they can grow from what they've been through. But a lot of times what you've been through is designed for you to grow through.
Yes.
You
So
know?
to break that generational curse it was glorified. I said thank you, God, for my story because it brought the glory.
The story brought the glory. You better preach.
Glory.
You better preach. I'm very proud of you, number one.
Thank you.
And I know that you've not only been through the things that you've already mentioned, but there was another thing that happened in your life that was very detrimental for you as well, that you have also overcome. And I know you deal with it, and that was being molested.
Yes. Dealt with it.
You have dealt with it. In other words, she's dealt with, so it's past, it's behind it. So I just want to go back a little bit. How old were you when that happened?
I was about 8.
About 8 years old.
Yeah.
And was this a family member or a stranger? Or?
It was a stranger. It was both family member and stranger. It happened about twice.
Okay.
So it was both family member and stranger. And at that time, I didn't know. I didn't know anything. It was postpartum. It was later on in life when I was making decisions, being rebellious, not knowing how to act, not knowing how to be like a lady, or know how to just behave as a woman. It was like, what is going on? So that was part of my purging, is to expose that and come against that and say, hey, It was not your fault. It's just something that happened.
Right.
So if something like that happened to you guys, it's not your fault. And men get molested as well.
Right.
So it's just not your fault. So it just brings strength. It makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you stronger.
And I think so often when you when I've spoken to people who have been through that
Mm-hmm.
type of thing, a lot of times it's internalized, and they feel like I did something wrong.
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I did something to cause this to happen to
Yes.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, when you're a child, you can't do anything wrong for that to happen.
And when you're a
to
child, you think sometimes that's how it's supposed to be. You feel like maybe this is how it's supposed to be, and then you be promiscuous, and then you go and commit the same crime, or commit the same thing.
Or it manifests in other ways in your life.
Yes, it manifests,
that can be
so
detrimental.
you have to catch it. You just have to catch it, and that's part of growing up. And throughout life, it'll expose itself.
Yeah.
You'll say, okay, what is this? So.
Yeah, like where did this come from?
Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why am I behaving this way?
Why am I here? Why did that happen?
Yeah.
Why me?
And why me? And I think that's a question a lot of times when things happen in our life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why me? Why me, God?
Right.
What this thorn in my side? Why me? What is the purpose for it? And I always wonder, like when I'm going through different things or having different experiences, I always wonder, what is the ultimate purpose for this experience in my life?
Right.
Why is this happening? How does God get the glory from what's happening with me at this particular moment in time? And that's always a question to ask yourself. But I think when you're able to take the things that have happened in your life and turn it around into something that's positive, then that makes whatever you've gone through a
That's
value.
the essence of life.
That's
the essence of life.
There you go.
Whatever is for your, whatever evil has done to you, turn it for your good.
And that's important.
That's the essence of life.
It's kind of like taking your lemons and turning it into lemonade.
That's it.
Yeah. Tell me this: did you ever have to get any type of therapy or counseling for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But to be honest, it didn't work as well as self-therapy and getting into behind the veil of prayer and listening to that inner voice and listening to God's voice and meditate. That's where the ultimate healing comes in, really.
Yeah.
I think the therapists are there to guide you and to
give you some direction.
Give you some direction. But when you get by yourself, because at the end of the day, through it all, better than the therapist, better than him, better than her. So when you get behind the veil, or you get behind your bed and you kneel down and pray, or you just get in the room and you just close yourself off, you say, okay, let's go, God. Talk to me, what are we going to do? So that's when the ultimate healing comes in.
I think that's fantastic. And all of the things that we've talked about culminates into your writing.
It does, and that's part of my self-therapy.
And again,
that's where that came in. That's when I incorporated.
Which is a part of the positive thing that you can take from the negative thing that have taken place in your life.
And help others.
Then help others through it.
There it is.
And that's always the result that you want to be at the end.
That's always.
Being able to help others through what you've been through. You know what? I want my guests to get the opportunity to hear from you.
That's fine.
In your gift of spoken word and poetry. Do you mind giving us a piece of what you've done?
Just a piece or a whole piece?
You can give us a whole piece. I think my audience would really appreciate a whole piece.
It's going to take about 4 minutes.
It's going to take about 4 minutes? Well, guess what? I think we'll be all right.
You sure?
I think so. Okay, but we're going to do that in just a moment when we come back with more Let's Talk About It.
All right.
All right, welcome back. I wanted you guys to get the opportunity to listen to the amazing poetry or spoken word, whichever you choose to call it, of my wonderful guest, Myra Battle. Myra.
Let's go.
All right. It's all yours, baby.
All right. I'm going to talk to the world on this one. Here stands a man behind stage in front of the judge with no remorse or nothing to say. Hands cuffed, shackles around his ankles, but that Negro had on some J's. But it's sad to say that's symbolic to the way that we think today. It's materialistic over characteristic and status over honesty, which is probably why what's real don't even matter. Unless it's that real Gucci bag or whoever popping tags. And what makes me even more mad is that we kill each other over some dead presidents who once killed us, which is exactly what they wanted, was intelligence demised by us. which is why our youth no longer strive for 100s on their exams, but they go above and beyond, past 100 for those damn space jams. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, because we all compromise a little bit of what we need for a little bit of what we want, especially when it comes to that wardrobe and that flies gear that y'all cop up out the stove. And don't get it twisted. Let peace admit it. Yep, I did it. My bills was due this week, but I wanted those sneaks, so I called in and I extended it. Bad decision, but I get it. But what I don't get is, why did my brothers become high school dropouts, but they riding around with their candy dripping top out, not realizing that fast money gonna eventually run out? Now you walking around with your hands sticking out, acting all African, blaming the white man because your ends came to an end. I'm gonna stop right there.
Okay.
I have another piece if you want.
All right, that was excellent,
It
y'all. I hope you guys
was.
enjoyed it as much as I did. And it's not over. Do you mind giving us another piece?
Sure.
I know it's in you.
As I go through this maturation of peace, I realize those that once were are no longer with me. And so I sit back and I analyze and I ask my God, why is it me? Am I wrong? Did I stand corrected and correct me? Did I realize my mistakes and I dissect my enemy as I build up enough strength to pray for my enemy? You see, we're all here for a particular reason, and that's to maximize our minds and embrace this season. Because truth is, this here is not even about me. So I expose my soul with a touch of spirituality and embrace the fruits of the Spirit like love, joy, and peace. Peace that would bring good karma to our souls, and our humbling spirit would help keep our pride and self-control, because never do I ever want to be the follower of a pastor who can only repeat what he said, but can never recite nothing he read. Just a bunch of church souls sitting in pews dead because they don't have enough word to keep their spirit fed. But that's another topic. I'm not going to go there yet. Instead, I'm going to end this piece with all due respect. Peace.
Very good. Very, very good. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of Let's Talk About It as much as I did with my awesome guest, Porphyria Battle. I hope that you got something from her story, and if you've been through what she's been through, I hope you know that you can get through what she's gone through. Until next time, we'll see you on Let's Talk About It. But before I go, you can reach us at Let's Talk About It 12TV at gmail.com. That's Let's Talk About It 12TV at gmail.com. And Porphyria, for more information on you,
You can catch me on Instagram, Peace Battle. That's P-E-A-C-E, last name Battle, B-A-T-T-L-E. Facebook, Peace Battle, and Twitter, 99_problems.
all right. You got the information there. Until next time, we'll see you on Let's Talk About It.